are listening to the Paranormal Chronicles radio show. Here is your host, paranormal researcher and author of the best-selling A Most Haunted House, Gavin Lee Davis.
Welcome, my name is J.L. Davis, founder of theparanormalchronicles.com and author of the #1 best-selling true account, that is, Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest. Please be advised that tonight's show contains reference to drug use and its effects and adult themes. So if you are sensitive to such things, then maybe check out one of our other shows on ghosts, demons, aliens, and on-location reports. This series prides itself on bringing you unheard and fascinating accounts. Thank you to everyone for joining us on our mission to explore the strange, the paranormal, and the spiritual. This series is brought to you by our series sponsor, sixth-books.com. Sixth-books.com will open your mind with a range of books on the supernatural, hauntings, spirituality, and mediumship. So visit www.sixth-books.com today. Huge shout out to everyone that is following. Our growth is phenomenal, and everyone that follows the series is entered into a monthly prize draw. Plus we have Amazon vouchers to give away over the summer. Listen to the last episode on the Owlman of Haverfordwest for details. We have incredible guests to share with you over the summer, so press follow now. If you have a story, theory, or experience you would like to share, then contact us on Facebook or Instagram at The Paranormal Chronicles, tweet at Parachron, or email paranormalchronicles@aol.com. We will get back to you. On tonight's show, did an out-of-body experience lead one man on an incredible journey that led him on a path of spirituality, aliens, and a theory we live in a matrix-like construct? In this incredible feature-length interview, John H.K Fisher, for the first time ever, talks about his life in an intense spiritual group that he was part of for nearly 50 years, and talks of the incredible things he saw, from shapeshifting, telepathy, men walking through walls, angels appearing, God's true purpose, and when the world will end, and so much more that it will blow your mind. Why did John leave the group after a lifetime of service? What secrets will he reveal? And how did he lose God and find aliens or a construct? John H.K Fisher is a musician, a high school teacher, and a truth seeker. He is a singer-songwriter and also plays piano, flute, and guitar, and has released 2 albums. His personal experience is covered in the fictional narrative that is Blink of an Eye, his first novel, which is available from www.cosmicegg-books.com. At the end of this fascinating, mind-blowing, and at times heartbreaking interview, John will tell you how you can read the first chapter of Blink of an Eye, and also how you can have free songs sent to you for just saying hello. The Paranormal Chronicles will always strive to bring you the best real-life experiences, personal paranormal encounters, and on-location reports. And this episode, well, you've never heard anything like this. So, on with the show. Thank you very much for joining us, John. We are so thrilled to have you on our show all the way from Canada. Now, before we begin, what our audience enjoys, they like to hear about personal, unexplained, mysterious, paranormal encounters.
Unexplained encounter would be sitting under a tree, playing my guitar. I was trying to write a song about deer coming down the mountain. I could see, on the other side of the lake, there was a mountain, just getting into the whole space. And I was learning about meditation. I was reading some Eastern philosophy. I had an introduction when I was 9 years old into the Maharishi from TM. He came to Canada, to Calgary, Alberta, and my parents took me there to get a mantra and spark something in me. My sister was there too, and she just thought it was a joke and it was nothing to her, but it triggered something in me. I was a real seeker, curiosity type of person and stuff, and it really hit a core with me. And I was under that tree, and I guess the mantra just started coming on its own, and all of a sudden this word just overpowered everything. And at the time, being 14 and, not knowing anything other than you go to church every Sunday and blah, 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 I left the body. I really felt I left the body. I didn't know I left the body at first, but all of a sudden I was flying into the sky and I saw stars, and I was flying into the stars, and I was just so consumed by this feeling of expansion and love and bliss. And it was just amazing. The more I flew into stars, the more it expanded, and I could vividly see my family, and I loved them. I wanted to send love to them. There was a lot of conflict in our family, and I was just totally transcended it all, and it all just became so insignificant, all the struggles and all the disagreements and stuff, and there was just this overpowering feeling of love and bliss. Then I thought of all the people I'd met. They came into my consciousness. I don't think I saw them like physically or anything like some people report, but it was more of a feeling, and it just encompassed the whole universe eventually. Animals, everything just happened so quickly. And then I started wondering, well, where am I? Like, what is going on? And started to look around. And then I looked down and I could see myself with the guitar in my hand underneath the tree. And I saw the lake, and all of a sudden I was back in my body. I mean, it just happened so quickly. It was just, I guess, a moment of doubt, and I was right back in my body. But it was just so real. It was more real and more tangible, more meaningful in my life than any other connection or experience that I had up to that point. It felt eternal. It felt lasting. It felt something that I was on now a different plane, a different level of human experience that was going to last. Well, that was my first unexplained one. Like, I had a experience where I could explain it by, well, that was drugs, or that was,
Please share it, because, I'm not advocating the use of drugs or alcohol or anything of that nature, but sometimes, these substances can help open our minds into other realities and other opportunities to see things aren't necessarily there for us to see in everyday life.
Yeah, I was at a party and we decided to take these pills, and we didn't know what it was. We're just 14, and I lived in a small town that was on the highway from Toronto to Vancouver, and everybody stopped into this small town on their way through, all the hippies and, a lot of business people, and a lot of traffic was going through from Toronto to Vancouver. So I guess, the drug dealers were coming through, and the hippies and stuff like that. Everybody wanted to check out the West Coast from the East Coast, and the people in the West were checking out the East Coast. So everybody was traveling through. And I was sitting there, and then I had a pet squirrel that had died. A dog ate it. Oh. But before that, it was everywhere with me. I take it to the park, all the hippies, all the people at the park. I took it to school, fed it with a syringe and all that, like right from birth, because the mother died in a river, and we caught it as a baby. So we nursed it. All of a sudden, it was in one of the pictures, and I started screaming, "There's Homer!" And then all of a sudden, I went over to grab him, and he jumped out. And he jumped on the couch, and I was just freaking out, like, it's Homer, it's Homer. And I was telling everybody, he's alive, he's come back. And then he ran into a bedroom, so I went chasing into the bedroom, and everybody jumped into the bedroom looking for Homer. And everybody was freaking out looking for Homer. And then some of the couple started making out, so then we all left, and then I saw Homer go back into the picture, and then he disappeared. I was just so amazed that Homer was there, and I couldn't talk to him, or I couldn't, reconnect with him. He just kept running away from me. I was just so emotional by that. So I was kind of mad because everybody started teasing me and saying, "Oh, he's gone crazy, seeing his dead pet and all this," and kind of was bummed out. And I left the party, and I went to a park in the middle of town, but it was kind of a secluded park. It had a big fence around it, and it had big trees and everything. There was strychnine in that, whatever pill that we took, whatever it was. And so apparently later I heard that a couple of my friends got rushed to the hospital with really bad pain in their stomach. And I had a real bad pain in my stomach. I didn't know at the time, but the police were looking for me to help me, to take me to the hospital. But I thought they were after me. So when I saw them come into the park with their flashlights, I climbed up a tree, and I went way, way high up in this tree, and to get away from everybody. And I didn't know they were trying to help me. I just felt threatened, and I went up the tree, and I was in a lot of pain, and I was very scared. You're 14 and you're afraid to death if your parents find out, or if the cops get you and all this. It's very, very scary. And I was up in this tree, and all the branches turned into snakes, and they were coming after me, and I wanted to scream and everything, but then the people would hear where I was and stuff. So I was trying to hold it in, and it was a very frustrating moment. Because I was brought up in Canada, you go to school and there's God at school. You go every Sunday, you're told you have to go to church, and there's a church on every corner. And, it's a big part of your mental upbringing. You're supposed to look at the world. And so just automatically, I just prayed to God. I started reaching out to God and saying, well, if you are real, I'm going to die here. Like the snakes were going to kill me, or praying to God. All of a sudden, a bolt of lightning came out of the sky. Pain that I was feeling in my stomach and the fear and everything went away, and I felt happy and full of bliss and stuff. I can overcome anything. I can do anything. And I came down from the tree. Yeah, when I first went to the park, I didn't go into the tree right away. There was some weird experiences, and it's in the book. People came out of the party, knew I was hallucinating, so they were playing tricks on me. One guy hid behind a tree, and he had a knife. He came out from the tree, and I saw him as a bear. He was a bear, and he had a knife, and he went over to the wading pool and started killing and stabbing my friend Susie.
This is a wild party, John, I've got to say.
Yeah, this was a wild night.
Party. Do you think it was the drugs, or do you think this was something more?
No, I'm pretty sure it was the drugs. It triggered emotions that I couldn't control, and I seemed to have insight. I remember one friend turned into a fox. He was a sly fox, and another one was kind of like this bear, and somebody else turned into something else. Oh, the girl in the pond, I saw her as an angel. She had wings, and I kept saying, fly away, you can fly. And because the bear was coming at her, and then they disappeared. All of a sudden, the pond turned into a giant whirlpool and sucked them into the whirlpool. And my jaw got stuck in an emotional state, open. So my mouth was open. I couldn't talk, and I was trying to scream for the police at that time. So this was, a few hours, I guess, or an hour before I went up in the tree. Girl from school found me, and I couldn't close my mouth. And she took me to a church to calm me down. And I calmed down, and I told her, yeah, we took these pills, and I'm just freaking out. What should I do? How I need help and stuff. Yeah, really badly hallucinating. It was just, but it was so petrifying. Yeah, it was so real. It was just unbelievably real. And then those two people that died came into the church and said they were sorry and they were just messing with me and stuff. But I don't know how he was able to turn into a bear. I mean, that was my hallucination, and then the whirlpool and all that was in my imagination. But he actually did hide behind the tree and come out with growls and all that, and he actually did pretend he was killing her. They were just doing that to freak me out. I was saying to my friend, let's go to the police. And she knew it was just a joke, so she took me to church. They're party animals and whatever. They just got back to party and left me alone, and that's when I went up the tree.
That was some potent pharmaceuticals that probably, from the effect, opened your mind to perceive more in the world than there actually is. Do you think that could be the case?
Yeah, it triggered networks in my brain that I'd never known were there for sure. It triggered me differently than anybody else for sure.
So nobody that you can recall who was at the party, they didn't go on a similar journey to you later in life at all?
There were a few that came with me from that journey. They didn't really come with me. Some of them were ahead of me, and actually they influenced me into further. Actually, I went into a spiritual direction after that. The things that happened to me were just so powerful and so real that to make huge changes in my life and have the power to do it without any second thought or without any doubt. It was just huge. It was just mind-boggling, because before that I was like the 14-year-old lost, not knowing, who to hang out with or what my purpose in life was, and just exploring different things. I've been dabbling in music, but I didn't like my music teacher, and I didn't like, all the structure of practicing and all that. And you're in a small town, you don't know what's available in the world or what, and you're getting all this pressure from people around you, right, to go and be a lawyer, a doctor, and all that kind of stuff, and school, right, all the pressures of school and stuff. I had that experience when I was 9 with the Maharishi from TM. So then my mom had some books laying around, and she'd gone off. Her church was really mad that when they found out and said it was the devil and forced her back into the church. But me, I was so rebellious, and I just said no way and all that. But then there's some Jesus freaks came through town, barefooted Jesus freaks, and I kind of got into that for a while, and I went barefooted to school, and then I got sent home because you're not allowed to not wear shoes to school. But anyway, so I had these books, and I became a vegetarian overnight because that love experience that I had was so universal, and I had love for ants and bugs, and I wouldn't even kill a mosquito after that. My dad would laugh because we had ants coming in the house, and I used to collect them with honey and then take them out, try to get them to live outside instead of in our house. So it was pretty extreme. I just had this overwhelming connection to every living thing and to the universe kind of thing. But it was just so powerful and real that I just couldn't look at it any other way. Like, I would never have sat back and tried to look at this scientifically or anything like that. It was just, you're brought up brainwashed that there is a God. So this was a God experience, because that's the only way you're allowed to interpret things.
Yeah.
But when I went to the church and tried to tell them my experience, they couldn't help me, because they're just so grounded in reality. And this was just so beyond. God's chosen me, and I'm going to be with God, and I'm going to be his mouthpiece. You start going wild with all these ideas, right? Because it was just so powerful and out of the ordinary. But people were just saying I was crazy, and my dad said, "Shut up! Don't talk to my stepdad. Don't talk about this to anybody." And my sister, like, everybody is telling me to shut up, because it was embarrassing, right? They just thought it came from the drugs. And then people said, "Don't talk about it, because then they'll know that you did drugs. You're not supposed to do that," right?
Of course. So
that was the one thing. So I just kept a lid on it, and I just secretly, even meditation, like, I tried to talk to my drama teacher, and people get so mad about it. Like, that's the devil. You're going to open your mind to the devil. You're sitting there, and the devil's going to come in and take over your life. So counter. So I just secretly meditated. I did yoga. This is like at 14, I was a vegetarian in this small town in BC that's all based on hunting and fishing and all that. Like, yeah, it was just, I had to get out of there. So yeah, as soon as I could, I went to Vancouver.
John, so you're 14 years old. You've had some mind and life-altering experiences. You want answers. You want to practice a different route in life, but nobody is supporting you. No one is encouraging you. No one is helping you. So you're doing all of this on your own.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, in secret. Very secret, because the feedback was just so negative, and just, yeah, so much anger about it. Like, when you're a kid, you don't understand all society's pressures, and they want you in a box, right? And anything outside that box, are going to be violently against it. And I mean, anybody who tries to get out of the box are either in jail or dead. Or there was a biker gang that had a camp outside of this small town, and then the hippies took it over when the bikers left. We used to always go up there, and then this girl came through from, I don't know, Europe, I think even. I don't even think she was from North America. And she was coming from Toronto to Vancouver, and there was a master that was in Vancouver, and she was on her way to see this spiritual master, and she was just beautiful, like an angel type of beauty, and long hair, and just one of those beautiful flower girls, and she talked about this chastity, and everybody was so freaked out. Like, I can remember friends saying, "Oh, I'll show her what chastity is," and it was a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Everybody thought, "Oh, this is a challenge. We'll see if we can get her off this chastity thing." So all the guys were just beast of the honey kind of thing, beast of the flower. Like, they were just so attracted to her, and so anyway. But she was so strong, and she in her beliefs and everything. So that all these different things you heard about the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, there was an influence from just everything that was going on. Like, society was just opening up at that time, right? The 60s, everything was new, and everything was exploding. Like, it was the sexual revolution. Everybody was trying to break out of these boxes that everybody, that society was trying to put everybody in. So it was a very exciting time, like, looking back at it. But anyway, so she took off to Vancouver, and all, some friends that I was real close to playing music and stuff, they took off to follow her to meet this master. And so that was when Kirpal Singh was coming at Vancouver. It was a real big deal for this certain group, and especially the hippies. For some reason, Kirpal just connected with all the hippies, or the hippies connected to his message, because apparently years later he said, "I don't know how that happened. I wasn't there for the hippies," but the hippies just owned him. And even Ram Dass and all these guys knew about it and met him and all that and checked it out. But some people committed to it and went down that rabbit hole 100%. That was my connection to God, was through Jesus. And so I was really praying to Jesus and saying, well, come to me, talk to me, appear to me. Like every time I saw his picture, I would just be on my knees praying and just so emotional. Every time I looked at him, that brought me back to that experience that I had when I left the body, that intensity, that universal love and everything. His picture resonated that, brought that out of me. So that's how I kept it going, because to be truthful, like I think it took 3 weeks. When I left the body under that tree, it started to die. And I wasn't promised I would never drink after that, and I never did. I promised I'd never touch a drug after that, and I never did. So it was very powerful. It made me a vegetarian, off drugs, off drinking,
yoga, meditation.
Yeah, and just totally focused. I had music though, but music all of a sudden just wasn't important. I started being lonely, and then you get the feeling like you got to have a girlfriend, and then you try to talk to a girl, and they just think you're crazy, and they run away. And so then I think loneliness was the first thing that brought me away from it. Because before that, for 3 weeks, this was going to be my life fulfillment with God, and I was going to have the Jesus experience kind of thing. The whole thing with Christianity, the main thing that resonated with me is Jesus said, seek and you shall find. And, that just seemed like if God is real, that if that's his promise, then that was my journey then. This is a long time ago, so it's all very vague to me now. I'm glad that eventually I wrote a lot of this down, because at the time I didn't write it all down. And you just think, oh, you'll never forget this stuff. The first time I went to Vancouver, I think I was 16, because all my friends they were older than me, and they were already settled out there, and I just went out there. So the first thing I checked out was TM had an office there. And so I go to this office, and they tested me. They stuck needles in me, and they made me meditate, and they did all these tests on me. And they said, oh, I'm at the second level, so I owe $1,000. And then they said, if you want to get to the third level, you got to pay another $1,000. And I just had a vision, monstrous. Like I saw the people change. Like it was as if I was on acid again, and I just saw them as they weren't angels, anymore. So I ran away from that. That just hit me as really weird. But now looking back at it, I can understand more. But at the time, because I was looking for pure love, and God would never think of charging. You know what I mean?
$1,000 to get on the team.
Yeah, they wanted $1,000 because on my own, I had gotten to the second level. They said all on my own, because they stuck needles in me and I couldn't feel it. They did all these tests on me, while I was meditating. They tried to distract me, and then they asked me questions. What did I experience and all that? And they said, well, you're at the second level, buddy, but we don't know how you did it, because you did it on your own. But you owe us $1,000.
Good grief.
Because when I was 9, I got that mantra from the leader, the Maharaji, the same guy the Beatles met. He came to Calgary, and so when I was 9, so that word was always there, especially once I had that out-of-body experience, that the word was on its own without me even thinking about it. It was just always there.
He planted a seed.
Big time, yeah, that word. My mind just latched onto that. That just kept coming on its own. It would put me to sleep at night, and when I wake up, it was there.
Are you allowed to repeat what the word was?
Well, no, not if you're a member. It's all secret. I remember when we were 9, my sister started telling everybody. She ran out of the room. Oh, this is a joke. We have to say this stupid word. She was telling everybody. So they took her back in and said, that's not allowed. And they gave her another word, and they said, you're not allowed to repeat it. Otherwise, you won't have any power from it.
If I gave you $1,000, could you tell me?
Well, everybody knows the word. It's written everywhere now. For me, the word, I thought it was Om, but my sister told me the other day that, no, it was Ang or something, Ang. But yeah, it's nowadays it's out there. It's written and stuff. Later in life, Om came to me. I guess that's because of Ram Dass. I was really into Ram Dass, and he was into Om. Om Mani Padme Om, Om Mani Padme Om. I wrote a song like that, and Ang, I guess, was the word I got when I was 9. But anyway, so you didn't have to pay me $1,000.
Thank you very much. I should have just Googled it. So did you get one-to-one time with the master, or was it a series of tutors or teachers you had to work with to get to a certain level to get access to the master?
I didn't stay. As soon as I went to Vancouver, there was nobody in where I was from, a small town. So as soon as I went to Vancouver, I went to their office, and I had that bad experience. I thought, these group things are no good. So my friends were saying, well, check out Kripal. Like, I didn't go to Vancouver when he was there, so I missed that whole thing. And then he passed away. All these friends of mine were really lost because their master had passed on. I listened to them and I go, well, I don't want to be in a group, that puts you in another box. I want God directly. They were kind of lost. Who's the next master and who, to carry them forward? And I was like, well, it's got to come from God, right? I'm just waiting for guidance directly from God. I don't want to go through people or, I went back to Cranbrook, finished my high school. As soon as I could, I left and went back to Vancouver on my own. But I was enrolled in university and stuff. Day after day, there's no guidance. You don't have that same intensity of no doubts and everything. Like, doubts start coming in, and, I was studying all the different religions. I took courses on all the different religions and stuff like that, and I was talking to lots of different people, and then all your desires come back in. You got to find a job. You can't just meditate and survive, you got to make money, and you got to live in the real world. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, what to eat? What's right, what's wrong? Like, are you allowed to have a girlfriend? Are you allowed to have sex? No sex? Like, all these big questions, how to live your life. And do you give all your money away? Or can I do music? Is that allowed, or is that a sin? And all these different things. And there's no guidance because I'm sitting there meditating, waiting for Jesus to talk to me and come to me. And he never did after that. And I was just so hungry for the next experience and for guidance. And it never came. You have this experience and you think that's your life. And then there's no follow through. Then I started doubting God. Why aren't you following through? What was that? And then people were saying, oh, it was just a drug thing. And then there's no God. Then that whole thing started happening too. All of a sudden, for the first time in history, people were saying no God. That was never heard of before, right?
Yeah.
And then science started becoming more popular. And once you get into the 70s, people thought religion and God was done because of science. And some of the hippies went into, doing stripper clubs. Stripper clubs in Vancouver was huge. And I ended up getting a job as a flute player in a band that played in a strip club.
That doesn't sound like a bad job to me.
It was awesome. I just got on a bus with my flute and went to a job and got paid. And I met these incredible girls. And here I am going home to meditate to God, wondering, where's Jesus? And then, oh, man, it was just such a struggle. So I ended up on a bridge one night going to jump off because it was just too much for me. If you're not going to come and guide me, then what? I don't know what to do. And I'm be a fallen angel because I couldn't hold it together. It was just too complicated. How do you live in the world and make a living and have to be with all the people that are into normal things? That's when, instead of killing myself, I decided to join the group. So I went to the Kripal group and I said, I'm going to kill myself if I don't get any help here. And they were like, yeah, read the book. So they gave me all the books and the books just hit me. This is truth. It explained my experiences. It told me, this thing could take 4 lifetimes. It explained that I had a soul and that the soul's going to reincarnate. But once you get initiated, have a master, then you're set. And then they said 9 generations are saved. So you're saving the world by becoming an initiate. You don't have to do anything. You just have to get initiated, and all your family for 9 generations past and future are saved. So I eventually joined that group, and after 30 years bashing my head against the wall, they told me that seeing is believing, and I'd be telepathic. I'd go within and to all the different planes, and I'd meet God. I'd meet the master within, and they told me all these stories. And then you'd go to these I lived in the ashrams and everything, and people would tell me, yeah, they saw God and they talked to God and all this stuff, and God appears to them, the master appears to them, and they, you have all this common, thing, but you still have to live in the world. You can't just live in the ashram. So it's still a struggle, and, animal instincts and everything. It was a real struggle. 30 years, it wasn't a cakewalk, let me tell you. And it was highs and lows. And then nobody knew who the next master was, so there was a big fight and rift over that. People saying, this is the one, this is the one. So there's a huge fight, and families were split apart. Best friends were enemies because one would say do things one way, the other way. People had businesses, and the businesses had to fold because one, partners went to different masters and stuff. It became a huge thing, the Kripal thing, because a lot of people went into health food stores and they became millionaires. They had huge businesses, and these businesses were all affected by this. when Kirpal died and stuff, because he was, leading them. And so it was a huge thing in Vancouver.
So during this time, you're devoted to this group and their philosophies and their teachings. Are you working? Are you married? Do you have a family? Or are you just concentrating on the teachings and looking for that experience?
Yeah, it was a struggle because you're trying to find somebody with chemistry. Like, people would just marry because they're part of the group, and sometimes people would just marry people. They would just say, well, you marry so-and-so. You got to be married in the path. You couldn't be with a girl and see the master. You could only be married. So I wanted to go to India, but at the same time, I just had such an intense desire to be with a woman. To me, that I couldn't find fulfillment. I was lonely. I was miserable on my own. So this girl said, let's get married and we'll go to India and we'll be together. So I was like, okay. You go to the master and you're high as a kite and everything's wonderful, but then you come back to reality. And so we didn't last too long. We didn't have kids or anything. So yeah, it was a real struggle trying to stay focused on the path. It was the most strict path on the planet, probably. I don't know any other path that wasn't as strict as this one. Ram Dass even talked about it. He said, well, if you want to, get to God in this lifetime and follow a real strict path, go to Kirpal. But if you want to, take your time and have some fun on the way, don't go to Kirpal.
We will be right back after these important messages.
Hi there, my name is Claire Waters, and I would like to invite you on an incredible journey. I have written a book based on my personal experiences called Raising Faith, a true story of raising a child psychic medium. It's my family's extraordinary experiences with our young daughter's ability to communicate with spirits and the inspirational lessons learned on our journey. Raising Faith is currently available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Join me on this beautiful and incredible adventure. For more information on Raising Faith, visit my website, raisingfaith.co.uk, or my Facebook page, Raising Faith Book. See you there.
Sixth Books will take you to other worlds, haunt you, open your mind, and push you far beyond the veil of the unknown. Sixth Books is a leading publisher of books on the body, mind, and spirit, the paranormal, consciousness, ancient wisdom, and the afterlife. Explore today, learn today, open your mind today, read today. Visit sixth-books.com today. The world as you know it is about to change.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.theparanormalchronicles.com/magazine.
The international chart-topping, haunted horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, the true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
It was a very difficult period of time for the group, for the community. And I think it was that way worldwide because there were some of the initiates, they were very well off and they toured around. One of the wealthy initiates, disciples of Kirpal, went to India and he wrote a thesis on who he chose as the next master. And a lot of people disagreed, but he brought that master to Vancouver. And when I met him, when I looked at him, his form changed into Kirpal and into other masters. So for me, he was a real aesthetic. He built a cave on his property in India. All the village would look after him. They'd bring him food and stuff like that. And he was like more of a yogi. And he told stories how when the thieves come, he could rise above into the sky and jump over them and stuff. He had some wild stories. He looked at me one time and told me something that I did in the past, and it freaked me right out. I was sitting there and my legs were aching and so much pain, and he looked at me and he said, "You can stretch your legs." So he must have noticed I was just so much pain because I was trying to keep that yogi position, the lotus position. He didn't say my name, or he said, "This is what an initiate did, coming here," kind of thing. And then he goes on. He just made a story out of it, how a soul can get lost. And he was kind of scary. He scared a lot of people too, because he would talk about the fires of hell and that he would have to go into hell and take the initiates out because they did something. They got off the path, and if they died or something, they'd be in hell, and he'd have to go save them and stuff. And he told me exactly what I had just done. Like, he was in Vermont, near Boston, and I checked into Boston, and I didn't have a place to stay, so I ended up. Some guy at the bus station said, "Well, you could stay at my place," and he says, "I'm just going to this blues club. Just come with me to this blues club." So we were listening to this great blues and stuff, and then a girl comes, some of his friends meet him there, and they say, "Oh, we're next door. Come next door." And it was a strip club. I'm on the way to see the perfect master, and I end up in this strip club. So she wanted me to spend the night with her. So I go and I spend the night with her, and I explained to her, "Well, I'm going to see the master." So we didn't have sex. We didn't sleep together, but she kept trying all night kind of thing. And the master told the story about this initiate who got off the path and was tempted by the girl. And if the girl's not on the path, then it's going to delay your journey by many lifetimes. And he talked about going to a strip club. He says, guys, they'll get diverted. They'll go to a strip club. And I'm like freaking out, and he's looking right at me out of all these thousands of people. And then he tells the story how he had to go in and save the soul from hell. I don't know. All these different things made me connect to this guy. But later I started, after a couple of years of following him, and I got people to, friends of mine were on the fence, and I got them into it. And then after a couple of years, this other master came to Vancouver, and it was a lot more, it wasn't so scary and all this burning hell and fire and all this. And he was more into love and talking about forgiveness and love. And after 2 years struggling with that one master, I switched, I switched teams. And then I had so many, it was so political. I had people hate me and death threats, and it was really heavy for a while. I had best friends that all of a sudden were no longer talking to me and all this stuff. And so, yeah, it was real hard times. Families broke up because a wife would go with one and the husband would go with the other, and families broke up and stuff. So, yeah, it was a very hard emotional time. I ended up getting into music and ended up on the road. So I got out of that whole situation and was in another reality, away from the ashram and away from all that for quite a while.
So you left them. You had a break from them for a bit. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Were they happy with that? Did you have their blessing? Were you told you're not allowed to talk about anything? Or was it like, come back when you're ready?
Kirpal's all over the world, like satsangs and people and stuff that you can connect with. So I ended up in Edmonton, and there was a satsang already, and connected with those people and stuff like that. They always said seeing is believing and all that. And I kept writing to the master saying, well, I've seen these things. It's a tease, but I'm not getting where I want to be. I'm still tempted. I'm still, full of desires that come on to me, and, all the bad things. Like, why do all these bad things have to keep happening? Like, people would steal my stocks. I'd go into stocks. It'd be a scam. And then I had a car accident, and then your health, something happens, and, you're just dealing with all these tragedies in the family and different things. And, and then you're living in the real world, right? So you see all the evil around you. You see all the death, the disease, and they're supposed to be on earth, this God, this perfect master. Instead of being 100% believer, I was always, well, I'll have faith because of, the things I've been told and the things I've experienced, but I need 100% proof. I want to be one with God, and then have all that, have no more desires and doubts or anything. I want to merge my soul. I want to have that experience again that I had when I was 14. I was hungry for that, and it never came back. Like, I would see the master change forms, and even when I switched masters, the next master would do that too.
Sorry
And
to interrupt, John. Could you just let our listeners know, when you say switch forms, are you allowed to give us any details on what was happening, what you were seeing?
Yeah, I left the path. Like, if you're in the path, you're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to talk about your experiences, because then it's taken away from you. Everything's taken away from you, and then you could even be excommunicated and stuff like that, right? You're told, you have to focus on their eyes and their forehead and stuff. You're trying to open up your third eye. You're trying to see God and everything. That's what you do every day, 3 hours a day, meditating. And you're told that you'll go through, your third eye will open, and it's the eye of the soul. And the soul will see things. Your soul can see things that you can't see with your physical eyes. And you're always trying to get that experience. And I had it when I was 14. At least that's how I interpreted it. I interpreted it as my third eye open, and I had experience of my soul, and I left the body and all that. And there's planes, like there's the astral plane, the causal plane, supercausal plane, Sachkhand, and all that. It's an emotional state. You're looking at the master, you're pining, you're begging for help to get to the next levels and stuff, and all your attention is on the master. And for sure, like for me, like I had friends that said, "Oh, that would never happen to me." And because sometimes they'd ask, "Well, do you see anything? Are you getting spiritual experiences?" You're supposed to hear the music of the spheres, the sounds of music, like trumpets playing or the angels singing or whatever, like bells ringing and all this. And it all corresponds to different levels. Certain colors, if you see certain colors, that's the astral plane. Different colors are the causal plane. And so there was all this inner knowledge that you were getting, that you were trying to manifest in your life and in your meditations and stuff. But yeah, for sure, for me, I would look at the master and his form would get lucid, like it would start changing, and then it would become very clear, and he would be a totally different person speaking. His lips would be different, his nose, his eyes, his hat would be different. When I go to the library and I look through the past of who them past masters were, they're supposed to be like Kabir and Nanak and Jesus and all these different masters. Then I'd go, "Oh yeah, I saw that guy. I saw that kind of hat." And so it's kind of interesting. It intrigued me. Like, it made me think, gave me faith. It gave me, I must be on the right path. There's something here. But I talked to other people, and they never see that. But some people would hear things, and there's all kinds of wild stories. Like I could go on all day about the wild stories. Like, people would meditate and, they'd go to the inner planes and talk to, lots of souls on the inner planes and stuff like that. Like, this, if I'm just focusing on what I had. And then it became real curious to me, because he would talk about, your different stages. Like, you should be a changed person. Like, you should be more loving or more consistent, or your meditation should be better. But I was all over the map. Like, I'd be high and then low, and then I'd have a great dream, and then I would have nightmares, and I'd have periods of heavy desires, and then periods of contentment and bliss, like I'm on the path and stuff. It was like a yo-yo, like it was like a roller coaster. Like, it was just so exhausting, because you get so focused because you're so fulfilled in one direction, and then all of a sudden the floor is taken out from under you, and you're just falling into hell, and then you're in this hell. And weird things would happen to me. Like, I was in Edmonton, and there was this girl who said she was the master. She was trying to get everybody to follow her. And she came up and she started threatening my life, and saying that she was the master. There wasn't allowed to be any other masters. It was just so bizarre. All these bizarre things would happen out of the blue. And I saw her as a monster. And
you literally saw her as a monster? Or did you just see that her personality and her behavior were inconsistent and horrid?
I went to a psychiatrist once, and he asked me what were some of the experiences that I had. He was trying to assess me, because I was in a relationship that was having lots of trouble. And we went for help. He started focusing on me. And I was in a car one night. She needed a ride home. I played in a restaurant. I was performing, and after I performed, she said I needed a ride home. So I was driving her home, and she was saying, that she was the master. Why don't I follow her? All her initiates were there, and they left, and she was by herself. And, I explained to her, well, I already have a master, and I'll support you. You can be a friend. And I think it's great what you're doing, but it's not for me. I've already got a master. And we were parked and she was supposed to get out and go home up to her place. And she jumps on me. She's on top of me and she put the seat down so it's flat, and she pins me there. And then I did actually at that second, she turned into a black cloud would come around her, and she kind of turned into a witch, and then her voice, she had this deep voice. She said, "I am the master." So I don't know if she was putting that on or if it came through her or something. I just thought, I'm not going to react to this. I'm not going to freak out. I just said, listen, you can't be doing this. You're on top of me. This is really inappropriate. Can you please? I got to go home. And I was trying to be nice to her and stuff. And she did. She got off of me and she said, okay, well, I'll give you 3 days. If in 3 days, if you haven't come back to me and say that I'm the master, then I'll send my forces after you. And she says, I don't know what's going to happen. You might be dead. She said, you might have to be killed by the forces and stuff. And I didn't react. I said, okay, well, I understand and stuff. I was just trying to get her out of my truck.
Get out of the car.
And
did you believe her? Did you believe that she had this ability, this power to have you wiped out, killed?
Well, I've met psychotic people before. I had a roommate once that was schizophrenic, and I had a few, and I studied at university. And we had patients come in and tell about their episodes. So yeah, I was kind of hip to some things, but my own personality, I run away from conflict. I'm that kind of person. I'm not passive aggressive. I try not to be. I'm passive. My first instinct is to run and not fight. Apparently as animals, we have fight, flight, or what's the third one, shock or something, whatever. My first instinct is always just to run and then figure things out, and you know what I mean? Regroup and stuff. So my instinct was not to fight with her or argue with her or tell her she was evil or get into any argument with her or anything. She made a statement and I was just going to be passive and let it blow over. And thankfully it worked. She got out of the car. I immediately went home and phoned my master. And he's in India, and they said, oh, we're having a wedding. He's conducting a wedding. And I said, well, this girl's threatened to kill me. And she says she's the master and I'm not supposed to have another master. And the guy goes, well, okay, well, I'll go get the master. This sounds pretty heavy. So the master gets on the phone and he's all jovial and he just says, oh, just send her love. Everything will be fine. Just send her love. He says, don't worry about her. She has no power. Just do your mantra. And she said, the master has all, God has all the power. Love has all the powers with love and stuff. And he was just real jovial. And he said, don't worry, just forget about it. And that's what I did. So then I just focused on that. And then when she came up again, she had her disciples up there and everything. And she says, if you ever want to steal from somebody, you look them in the eye and you can take anything from them. And she said, just watch me and I'll prove it to you by the end of the night. So at the end of the night when they were doing the bills, the guy said, okay, you owe $30. And she looks at him directly in the eye and she said, oh, I paid my $30. The bill came to me and I paid my $30. It's there. He goes, no, you didn't. And then the others started to leave. Everybody left. The ones that paid, they left. And it's just the two of them and me. And she's looking him dead in the eye and she says, listen, I paid my $30. I don't know what you're going on about. And he was just adamant that she didn't. And then they were going on and we're in this nice classy restaurant and stuff. And eventually he gives up and he goes, okay, well, I'll just pay. And he took the bill and he paid it. And then later she said to me, that's how you steal. You can steal from anybody. Just look them in the eye and you can steal from anybody. And then the next time I saw her, she brought up a date and I said, oh, are you still the master? And she says, no, I gave all that up. I gave up my disciples. I told them all to go away. They wouldn't give me their money. So I told them to go away. So that was a bizarre experience.
At this stage, with everything that's happening, everything that's going on, with your doubts and your conflict, we'd spoke before about human beings are in the center of the conflict between spirituality and animal. At the end of the day, we have desires, we have needs, and at the same time we have this longing for something more. We don't want to be just a monkey. We want to have a purpose. So at this stage, with everything that's happened, the doubts, would you say that you were starting to think this isn't the experience I wanted? Because how old are you at this stage? How long have you been in this? Are you still thinking this might not be for me anymore?
Yeah, like just the reality of the world. And then they all of a sudden started talking about extinction of the human. Like Master said to us, life's going to go on for another million years, and then it's going to end, because you go through the different yogas. There's the golden age, the iron age, the silver age, and all that. And like he would make some real major pronouncements. Like he said, there's no aliens. He said, we're the only conscious life on Earth, in the universe. And he said 1 million years. And yeah, I'm just bashing my head against the wall, trying to make a living, dealing with all this tragedy, cancer. My mom died. When you die as an initiate, the master's supposed to come into the room and help you, take you to the other side. Some initiates would say, yeah, I saw the master come in and take my mom. And my mom left the path. Like I got her into the path, and then her church said it was the devil, so she left, and she was always against it. And when she passed away, there wasn't all the love in the master. It wasn't there and stuff. And I don't know. there's just so many things so many reasons I could go on and on about it. But I got so frustrated. I was suicidal. I'm not suicidal, but just at the end of my rope. Yeah, like you're facing things where I don't want to say suicidal, but those thoughts are always there. You always have options, right? And you're thinking, what are your options? If things are going to get so bad, if I'm going to get so sick or something, maybe that's an option, right? So, and on our path, you're not even supposed to think about that. Yeah, I'm at the end of my rope. So I start writing really intensely and telling him, this has been 30 years, man. And I'm in my 50s. This has gotten out of control. This is not fair and everything else. You promised all this. I'd have all these scientific proof for myself. Sure, I saw the master change forms, and I did have there's a huge experience in the book that I wrote about where I went the successor that I chose, like there was tons of them, but I chose one. He ended up passing away too. And I went to Chicago for the ceremony, and they introduced the new successor. And in the book I go on about, do you want me to have that experience explained?
Yes, please. Yeah.
I go into this hall, and there's hundreds of people, and people are telling stories. This lady, her kids had died, and she was just so distraught. So the master had her put her into meditation, and she left the body and reunited with her kids. And the master said, your time on earth will be short so that you can be reunited with your kids. And there's all these miracle stories that were going on. This one guy got up and said, it's in the newspaper. He had a newspaper clipping where the master was in two places at the same time. He was Indira Gandhi's finance person, accountant, and he was in a meeting with Indira Gandhi. So it was in the news and everything. But at the same time, he was holding a satsang in America. So he was in two different continents physically appearing. And this guy felt he had proof of it. And he was holding up the pictures and the news articles to prove it. So these things were going on. And I walked into the room. It's so emotional. The master had just died. And everybody's crying and everything. And I look on the stage, and all of a sudden these huge columns of gold and this huge throne appears. And it's all jeweled and bright. There's a bright light. The angels come, and they put this huge crown of sparkling jewels and light. The dead master appears, and he's lying down, and they put this crown on him, and then they take the crown off and they put it on the successor. I'm standing up, very emotional. I'm crying, and I'm seeing this happening in front of my eyes with my eyes open. I'm looking around. Are other people seeing this? People are chatting, or people are coming in and out, going to the washroom and stuff. And it's kind of a ceremony thing. So there's a lot of silence. There's a lot of breaks and stuff. It's not like he's giving a talk. He's mostly just sitting up on what's called a dais. It's a platform, and looking around at people. There's other people coming up to the stage to talk about things and stuff like that. It's not an intense lecture thing. There's gaps where he's just looking around, and I'm having this experience. I'm trying to think, who am I seeing here? Who's there? Like, is Jesus there, or are there past masters there and stuff? But it's just more like angel forms. It's nothing distinct where I could distinguish somebody. They have long gowns, and it's a lot of light. Everything's just disappearing into light. So the edges just go into light. But I can look around. I can see people beside me, and I see people crying, other people crying and stuff. I actually rubbed my eyes because I looked around for a projector. It seemed like a hologram, like somebody was playing a hologram, and there was a hologram going on in front of the master, because the master, his form would change. He would appear as the person that, like the master that died, the successor would appear as him, and other masters, I see his form changing, but at the same time, I see him just sitting there. He walks up to onto this throne. He's sitting on a throne, but it's higher up, so I can see the two images. It was really bizarre. But at the same time, I'm so emotional, and I'm so in the moment and crying. And part of me wanted to scream out and shout out that I was seeing this. And part of me wanted to rush up onto the stage and just feel it, to see if the angels would interact with me, or the master, the dead master was actually alive on the stage. And then he lied down and did this, and then he passed away. And then he faded into the light. After they took the crown off him, and the new successor went up into this throne, and it was just all this light. And then I remember the master wrote in it, he used to say that what you see with your eyes isn't as meaningful spiritually, like as your progression, as if you close your eyes and you see things with your eyes closed, because then it's your third eye seeing things if your eyes are closed. So I closed my eyes to see if I could still see the scene, if my third eye could see it, if I could see, the master and God with my eyes closed, with my soul, if my soul could see the image. And it couldn't. Like, as soon as I closed my eyes, everything went dark. So then I'd open up my eyes again, and it was there. I had no control over it, it seemed. It was there. And it was so real that I wanted to run up and interact with it, but I'm a passive kind of guy, and I just cried and stayed there. And eventually it faded, and I tried to get it back, and I kept staring, thinking if I really focused, it would come back, and I couldn't get it back. So it just, it was just, I don't know how long it lasted. It seemed like quite a while, though, because, I was checking it out, and I was looking away and then looking back. It was an insane period, but every time you're with the master, you're in another world, another universe. And as soon as you leave and you go back to your home, it just doesn't stay with you. It just seems like you're in a higher plane, and you're in a different universe. And then as soon as you're home, everything just goes back into darkness and struggle and reality. And
after your experience on the dais and the crowning of a successor master, did you speak to anyone else? Did anyone say, "Oh my God, John, did you see that?" Or was it just exclusive to you?
It was mostly stories of the past. And people had, they would get it up and talk and tell their story of something, miracle thing from the past master. So I mentioned some of those stories, and those are experiences that other people had. And I did, you're not allowed, as an initiate, you're not allowed to talk about your experiences. Like, if you have an experience, you're not supposed to talk about it. You can talk about it in third person. So you can say, "Oh, so-and-so said they had this experience," and you're allowed to do that. So I did do that. I said, "Oh, this guy said that he, had this experience. Did you guys have anything like that?" And I didn't know a lot of people that I knew, and nobody else had that experience. And they would tell other stories. Other people had amazing experiences. Like, one person was jumping off the bridge, and he said that he actually jumped, in the hand of the master caught him and brought him back onto the bridge, and then appeared to him and hugged him and consoled him and said, if you kill yourself, you'll have to do that for 8 lifetimes. You'll be killing yourself every lifetime for the next 8 lifetimes. You won't get to God for a long time if you kill yourself. And he was reprimanding him and telling him not to kill himself. And that was his story. So yeah, a lot of people got up and told some pretty wild stories. I've already mentioned a few there. So yeah, it seemed normal. It seemed like, okay, well, that was my experience. But what I didn't like about it is it didn't change me. Like, I came back home and I was still into the same struggles. It didn't cure me of my sicknesses. I didn't have any power. I didn't have any connection to God. I'd meditate and it was just darkness. Like, I wasn't getting that experience when I was 14, leaving the body and being high on love and bliss and stuff. I could never get back to that intensity that I had, that reality. It was so real. What I saw just seemed so unreal. It just didn't fit into life. And it started to make me realize that if there is all this power, like if he can manifest, a crown on his head and he's the king, he's the God of the universe. If he can manage all that, why do we have to, live in this darkness where people are killing each other? There's cancer, there's people dying and war. Like, we're lucky we didn't go through war, but my family did. And my dad died. My first dad died as an Air Force pilot going to the Korean War. And my granddad was shot up. My uncle was killed. Like, we live in good times, peace times, but there's wars going on in the world. And the Vietnam War and the Afghan War and all these things. And then people started talking about extinction, when you read the science about it. And what's this group doing? What's this master doing? So I got really intense and started just freaking out, saying, this is enough. If you're going to be God of the universe, if you're going to be walking on the earth and you can manifest and have angels appear and put crowns on your head, and you don't have the power to save me from my mundane, stupid problems, and you can't save this world, and you're just going to let it burn. And then I started reading more, and I started interpreting things more. Like, I read where the master said, well, God likes it the way this is. This is how it's meant to be. This is God's will. And I started thinking, what kind of God is this that would will this, that would purposely create this? Yeah. People getting shut up, blown up, whatever you want to imagine. All the evil. Like, I had to go through so much evil trying to work with people, like people stabbing you in the back, trying to get you fired, and evil people. Like, when you're working, I was a teacher, and you're working with the lowest common denominator on earth, bullies, everybody bullying each other. And I go to school one day and there's a kid in the garbage can and dead. And, you're dealing with all the lowest common denominator of human activity on earth. And as a teacher, you're just thrown into this in the public system, and you're dealing with kids that are in gangs. They're killing people. They're doing drugs. They're stealing. You turn your back, they put a knife in you, kind of thing. And that, you're walking amongst this, and you have to deal with this every day. And there's a God on earth. Like, what is this? Like, it just got to be so bizarre. It didn't make any sense to me. I couldn't make any sense out of God. And I kept writing the master. And then finally he wrote and said, humans aren't allowed to know the truth. So just accept it and make the best, do the best you can. And he always said, if you want to progress, do seva. Do the work, get involved, do the hard work. A lot of people would go to the ashram and do all the work. They build these buildings. A lot of them were wealthy. They could afford to do that. But I was struggling. Hard to pay the rent, hard to pay the food. And then all the tragedies that keep happening, and people steal from you and steal everything that you've done. And just horrible things kept happening. And I just had it. And he said, it's like a game. He said, there's 2 teams, or, there's different teams. And if the one team always wins, it's boring. So God made all the teams equal, and you don't know who's going to win. I just thought, that's the talk of a psychopath. Like, yes. That just made everything not make any sense, but it made in some sense, okay, so God's a bored, evil dude, and he just created all this evil just to amuse himself. And yeah, that kind of made sense, but I didn't want to have any part to do with this God. And I just thought in my own mind, if I could destroy this God or change his will or make him loving and make him not bored, I would do that, right? And my thoughts just got to be ridiculous because, you're just a monkey with a brain that, if you believe in evolution, they probably are going to come out with proof in the next, 10 to 100 years that we just evolved from apes. Like a lot of people right now can still say, well, there's missing links. Maybe the aliens intervened or something. Like they don't have 100% proof, I guess. I don't know. Some biologists think that they do, but they haven't convinced everybody. But anyway, and then they have these fossil records, and then there was a fire or something, and it destroyed some of the evidence. I don't know what's going on there, but imagine if we just evolved from monkeys, if all that's true. Then what I'm thinking of, like trying to change the world. But anyway, so I just started writing this book as a catharsis to help me work through all these ideas. Like what happens if we kidnap the master and make him change the world? If he's God, you threaten him with, okay, well, you're just sitting around being bored, so now you're not bored. Well, meanwhile, we're suffering. We're going through this hell, and you're blowing up, you're killing our parents, you're killing our kids just so that you can't be bored. I just thought, how can we get out of this mess? And so we got to change God. We got to change God's will, and then I started writing this book, and then I left the path because I just couldn't deal with it anymore.
So, John, can I just ask you a question here? So, how long have you been on the path for you to get this answer that has absolutely destroyed your faith in what you've been doing?
Like technically from 14, and I'm 64 now, and this just happened within the last 10 years. I guess I should get more exact with my dates. Sorry about that.
Not a problem. So 40 years, you've dedicated your life to being on the path, on a spiritual journey, trying to find a connection for the master, the boss, to basically say, don't worry about it. It's all a game. God's just bored with us.
Yeah, like I thought by becoming with the group and meditating, I was benefiting my family. They were going to all be taken to heaven. And I thought we were on a mission to change the world, to get rid of the evil, to, make everybody whole and make everything spiritual and, turn the lion into a lamb kind of thing. Like no more predators. We were going to live in the Garden of Eden and then it was going to become eternal and all this stuff. Like if I'm in heaven and I've got eternal life and I got to look down and see this going on, I'm not going to want to be there. This is insanity. This is just, what kind of a God would sit up in bliss and let this go on? And if all these stories are true, that he can appear in different places, he can fly through. Initiate said, he walked through the wall and he came and gave us a hug. All these stories are out there. If you're an initiate, like he's raised the dead, I've seen him change forms into other masters. I saw that scene. If he has all that power, it's really true, then he's an insane God. Like he's just trying to keep himself from being bored. Well, that's unacceptable. We got to get rid of this dude. Like we got to change him. We got to change God's will. I mean, I couldn't imagine myself in heaven and watching this go on. Like I sit in my backyard and I watch all the birds trying to kill each other. And then the squirrels, like I got a squirrel was killed by another squirrel in front of me. I mean, that's life. Like, like all the animals are raping. It's all rape, right? That's how they get pregnant. It's rape. And then you read all about humans, war and power trips and ego trips. And it's just insanity. This is just...
Obviously, you were angry. Was it like an absolute shock? Were you like, what have I done with my life? I know you've written Blink of an Eye, which in its own way is a continuation of your work and getting the message out there. But was it a sense of, what have I been doing? Or did you think it was worth it?
Well, yeah, like I was on that for 30 years trying to develop myself as a human, like a spirit, to be empathetic, loving, and So, yeah, I was trying to fine-tune that. But, if I'm an ape, what a weird thing to be doing with your life. Like, it's an impossible thing. Like, why try to get people to do what's impossible? And I just started to think, yeah, I wasted my life. Like, I could have been trying to work towards us not going extinct. That's a more pressing problem than trying to get my soul that doesn't maybe exist to merge with God, who might not even exist. So, yeah, it was like a total shock. Part of me wanted to get back in the race, but by then I was dealing with cancer and I had no energy. I had no money. Now, I have no job because I'm on stress leave, and the employer stole all of my benefits and my pension, and he stole my disability, so I can't get disability. My employer ran off with the money, and just reality is just bizarre, like so evil. And I'm just trying to figure out what to do with my life. And I just thought, part of me just gave up on everything and I'll just live my life, doing what I want to do for the rest of it. But part of me is still humanitarian, and I want to have purpose. I want to do something that's right, that's good for humanity. And I just thought, okay, well, I'll just pour it all into this book, get this book out there, see if I can connect with people that have had the same spirits, because nobody around me has given me any support or, gone through anything like I've gone through. So I'm all alone here, and I'm not in a relationship right now. And, they stole from me and ran off. And right from birth, my dad died when I was 2 months old. My whole life it's been like that. Like, everybody's deserted me, ran off, stole from me, tried to destroy my life and everything. And somehow the spiritual path has saved me from suicide, I guess, all these years. So I guess I got to be thankful for that, because this world is just so immensely evil that you don't even want to be here. If we could turn all that around and make something positive. Like, imagine if we all came to this scientific conclusion that we're just evolved from apes. Everything is just a made-up story for the rich to get richer. So, a group of us put an end to all that and change government, like the Venus Project, the Zeitgeist Project, like Peter Joseph. There's movements out there that want to just remap the world, make it based on the reality, on the resources that we have. We're just a finite planet. Let's all get real here and just redesign everything, redesign the whole thing from the ground up. Right now, from the ground up, it's all based on who, benefiting the power, who's in power, right? The rich and powerful. And everything's a lie. From the ground up, it's all a big Ponzi scheme. It's all a big lie to benefit a few people. If I can be a part of helping to restructure and get everybody to face reality and come up with a loving, compassionate, humanitarian way to deal with our situation, then if I could be a part of that. So bring it on if anybody wants to.
Well, your blink of an eye, your new book, it's out there. It's coming out the weekend of June the 28th, 2019. If you're listening to this way in the future, it's out there. It's an incredible book. And I think what you are doing is, in your own way, you're doing what the master failed to do. I haven't got all the answers, but I've got my experience and a whole bunch of questions. And we need to start asking the right questions if we're going to survive as a race. Because what we're doing now is wrong. And what fascinated me, because we'd never met, I got hold of the book, I contacted you, we had a chat. And for half a century, 50 years, you've been on a spiritual path, you've been on a journey. But now you feel that maybe there's a very different answer. And you think that maybe we've been looking at the wrong direction, been looking at the wrong things. And am I right in saying that you think that there might be more of an alien involvement in the human species, or a construct like in the Matrix?
Yeah, like we're always told, it's black and white. There's only one answer. And if everybody just got on board with that one answer, all the problems would be solved. And that was God, right? I mean, if God is some bored dude that's got all this power and he's going to keep this game going, well, that's one way that it turned out, for me anyway. And then the other thing was, well, people would say, well, you just need the right God, Jesus God or something, or, Christian God, or then there's the Muslim God. And it just seems to divide the world. So there's lots of answers, other answers I could get from exploring other gods. But yeah, your mind becomes open. And if we evolved as apes, then you realize that everything on earth is made up by people then. all the stories, it's just all coming from the mind, a biological mind. It's not coming from any spirit or soul or anything. So then we have to deal with reality in a whole different way. Yeah, people have come up with all these theories like, okay, then where did God come from? Or like, you just open up a whole can of worms. So maybe it is all a simulation. Or maybe if there are aliens, then the problem is, well, where did the aliens come from? Is there ultimately behind, you open up one door and then there's another door you got to open, and what's the final answer? And like, if there is a God, then who created God, or how did God come about? So yeah, it is a huge mind-boggling mystery. And then, yeah, people come up with multiverses and stuff. So the main thing that I come up with is if we can get onto the scientific formula, principle, and follow it without politics or money or all this corruption. And imagine if everybody born knew the truth, that we don't know what the truth is. That would be one step forward for mankind. If everybody admitted that. Right now we got every religion saying, no, they got the truth, they got all the answers. And then we got science saying, no, this is it. But there's so many different theories with science. And then there's the alien answer. But where does that lead us? If there are aliens, then who created the aliens? So, I mean, it's just a maze. But imagine if everybody were told that we don't know the answer, let's all work together to find the answers. And we all put our resources and all our money. Imagine what we could do as a human race, just trying to solve problems in the scientific way. If that was our number one God or number one goal, is to apply the scientific method to everything, I think that would be a big step forward for humanity. And anything that couldn't be proven, we wouldn't base our life on it. Right now, all our systems are based on fantasy, and they're all leading for the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer. They're not leading anywhere for humanity as a whole. So we got to get systems and methods that benefit everybody and the planet and give us answers, scientific answers with evidence. Right now, science doesn't have any money. It's all going towards, the billionaires and whatever they're going to do with it. The trillionaires, they just want more power and more money, stashing it away. And right now, humanity isn't using our resources to find the answers that we need. So we should base everything on the scientific method, and without the corruption of money and politics, get down to these solutions for everybody.
In blink of an eye, and you've taken your life experiences, your views, your theories, and you've kind of put it in a fictional setting. Is that correct?
Yes. One of my themes for the book, I guess, is that all these things that go against the laws of physics can only happen in fiction. So if a master can walk on water or, raise the dead and all that, maybe that's just all fiction, because it doesn't happen in the real world of the physical laws, the laws of physics. But if there is an alien and they can transcend the laws of physics, or there are other laws that they can work, yeah, that blows up, another can of worms. So maybe all these stories can be real. We don't know. I don't know. And if anybody knows out there, let me know. If anybody's got evidence for anything, let's pool it together and try to figure this out. But yeah, my story kind of ends in, a real fiction thing where, all that stuff is real. Like there is this guy becomes a godlike. He can do all this. He can bring back the dead. Nothing can kill him and stuff like that. So yeah, he's got all these powers. He can read minds and everything. So he can do everything that a god can do, but he can do it for real on earth, and everybody can witness it. Everybody can there's evidence for it. And that's what we're lacking. So I wanted to show what we're lacking in this world. Like everybody's got a god, but nobody, that God doesn't do anything. It's not demonstrating himself or itself, and it doesn't show any evidence. So that's what's the problem with all these gods and aliens and everything, is there's no evidence. So my next book, I'm going to take it in another direction where all that fails and it's just humans, and they realize that they have to follow the laws of physics and solve all the world's problems. and they get together and they go about doing that in a scientific way. Before I die, there's a blueprint of exactly what we can do as evolved monkeys in this situation that we're in. And I think some people are doing that, and I wish I could work with them. And I've reached out to some groups, and the world is divided everybody because everything is based on competition. So the minute you come in there, you want to help, everybody just sees you as competition. So they're like trying to kill you, or kill your ideas, or kill your inspiration, or kill your energy and stuff, because in this world, everything is competition. Like if you're a musician, you don't want any other musicians out there because they're going to be competing against your radio time or whatever. And that's what I'm finding. Like the minute I reach out and I say, well, let's work together, it's like, no, get lost, you're competition. So I've tried to reach out to, all different organizations that I think are trying to build a blueprint and trying to solve all these problems in a realistic, scientific way.
Well, I think, John, with the book now coming out, the book's coming out this weekend, blink of an eye, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Hive, cosmicegg-books.com. More and more people at a grassroots level are going to read your book. Okay. And I'm blessed because as far as I'm concerned, this is the first interview you've done. But by speaking to my network, people are hurriedly asking for you to come on to their shows as well. So suddenly your whole life is just going to explode now because the word is out there. And the Paranormal Chronicles podcast, the series, we get thousands of downloads, tens of thousands of listeners, hundreds of followers. And it only takes one person listening to this right now to go, right, that man has really resonated with me. And they're going to contact you and they're going to read your book and find out this information for themselves, understand your experiences and how you've presented it in a fictional universe to make it happen, for you to make sense of what's happened. That's in blink of an eye. And I think this is the beginning, your time, your movement, your knowledge being spread. And like the masters, they all had to start somewhere. You haven't been well, you're getting on in age. Your book, these interviews, this knowledge is your legacy to make the world a better place. And a lot of people listening to this now, they're going to be in full agreement. And like you, they haven't got the answers, but they're asking the big question. And that is a wonderful thing to do. That is a legacy. That is a lifetime's purpose that you are achieving. And you should be incredibly proud. You said you haven't been well. You lost your father when you were young. You've had suicidal depression. You've had doubts. You've missed out on a lot of things in life because you were on a path. And now your life is going to mean something, because whether it's this weekend when Blink of an Eye comes out, or in a year, or in 100 years, someone's going to pick up your book, and that's going to be the seed that will change everything. The same seed that was planted in you when you were 9 years old, and it'll all continue again, and something incredible will come from that.
Wow. Yeah, that would be a blessing to have a purpose and to feel connected to other people that are going through the same experiences. And if anybody wants to contact, let's talk about these things. That'd be great.
John has his Facebook page. It's brand new. It's John H.K Fisher, author. That's John H.K Fisher author. Or if you head over to Cosmic Egg, sci-fi, fantasy, cult and horror, you'll have all the information on how you can contact John, because he is an incredible gentleman. He really, really is. And Blink of an Eye is a superb book. Grab Blink of an Eye and read it and understand what John is trying to spread, what John is trying to say. And once you've read the book, contact John. If you're out there and you've got a radio show, a podcast, a magazine, a fanzine, a blog, anything, get in touch with John. Help him spread the message, because he is such a wonderful gentleman. You've just listened to him. Now, John, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
If you could go back in time and see that young 14-year-old boy sat under the tree, would you do anything different?
To be honest, yes, I would. I came from a small town, and the people that were surrounding me had no answers and no support, weren't able to guide me through my experiences. But I wished, and I had no means of being 14. In my fantasy, I would meet the top scientists in the world that could help me work through that experience. There's a scientist in Toronto now he's called it the God helmet, and he can put a helmet on a person's head, with the electrodes and everything hooked up to the machines and computer and everything else. And he can induce spiritual or different near-death experiences to people that are sitting in his office. if I could have been with the top scientists in the world that are doing brain research and neurology and all that, then maybe I would have been put on the right path right from the beginning, and I could have been spending my life contributing to, the world waking up to reality and to finding a better way forward for humanity. And looking back, it just seems like I was always waiting for perfection, waiting for the hand of God to guide me, and waiting for the higher power. After all those years, was totally let down, told that, we're not allowed to be connected to the truth. We're not allowed to know the truth, and that it's just all a big game. If that's the explanation, then yeah, that's a psychopath God. That's not what I want to be involved in. That's not what I want to be a part of. I mean, even if that's true, as humanity, we got to fight that God. Then we got to find a way to overcome that God, which, that's just science fiction talk there. But let's say there is no God. Let's say there really, really, really isn't. And maybe it's just, this is a computer simulation. Well, we got to find the evidence for that, and then find out how to connect to that computer that's generating this, and find out how we can solve it. Imagine living in a world where all the animals, nobody had to eat or kill something to feed themselves. That's the world where I would like to live in. I'd like to live in a world where there's no mosquitoes and predators and things killing each other for food, where humans don't have to kill, or you don't have to destroy somebody to have power and money, and, all the competition and wars, and you're always living on, we're here, how can humanity get together and fix these things? Well, maybe we could be living in a world where there's brain transplants or something. If somebody's a murderer, they just get a new brain. You don't kill them or put them in jail. You just help them. We live in if we could live in a compassionate world where humans realize that we're not responsible for who we are or what we are. We're born into this. We didn't ask for this. So let's find a solution to everything. Rather than right now, it's all competition and putting everybody in jail and blaming people, shaming people. And it's just created this monster. Like, we're living in a real monster system right now. And it's just out of control. And everybody's saying we're headed for extinction, for World War III. Only the aliens are going to come and save us. Well, come on, let's do it. Let's get the evidence. Let's get on. Let's work together as humanity and come up with a better way forward. So if anybody out there wants to help or have any evidence or any solutions.
Now, there's people out there, we talked about your Facebook page. Can people email? Can people get in touch with you direct? Is that okay?
It's on my webpage, www.johnhkfisher.com. A way to email. I'm giving away three songs. So I've got 3 songs that I give away if you leave your email. If you want to get in contact with me, you get the bonus of 3 songs. So go ahead and contact me there through my website. So it's www.johnhkfisher.com. Yeah, there's a contact form there. You just fill in your information, send me whatever you want to say, and then you get 3 free songs. And you can get a free chapter too. I have a free giveaway of the first chapter. You can download that if you go to my website, www.johnhkfisher.com.
So there you heard it, folks. Go to www.johnhkfisher.com. That's www.johnhkfisher.com. And you can get a free chapter of Blink of an Eye, and you can get some music off John as well. So that's amazing. So please do get in touch with him. Just reach out to him. Say you've heard the interview, how much you enjoyed it, and how much you're on board with his philosophy, with his mission, and get part of this movement. Let's get some positive change in the world. Let's open our eyes. Let's start asking the big questions and encouraging other people to do so. John, you are one of the most incredible human beings I've ever spoken to. I've got a feeling we're going to hear a lot more from you, and you are welcome back on the show anytime you like. Thank you so much. Anything you'd like to leave our listeners with?
We're here for such a short time. It's a miracle opportunity. The creation, however it came to be, It's a miracle we're here, and let's do the best, not just for ourselves, which is awesome to do. And those that get to do that, that's awesome. If you're a billionaire and you're living the best life you can, and I'm happy for you. But there's also the whole of humanity and our future. You know, many generations down the road, we're at a place where everything's documented and this could be passed on. If there are aliens, we could be in touch with aliens and have something positive to bring to the table instead of extinction and third world wars and all this ego trips and and power trips and stuff like that. So let's get together. Let's work together. I'm a musician. If you want to sing together, if you want to play together, put out music that supports this stuff, I'm all for that. We could put a studio together. We could put out books. We could make a movie. Let's just do it. Let's work together. This is a call out. This is a reach out to the world. Let's all work in a scientific way to find a way forward for humanity. So we're not going to go into extinction. We're not going to go into World War III. We're going to solve all these problems, and let's do it together.
That's an incredible message. And everyone, blink of an eye. You've heard it from John. And remember, head to www.johnhkfisher.com for more information. John, thank you very, very much, sir. What a wonderful man. Thank you very much.
Okay, Gavin, it's my honor to have met you, and thank you so much for your support. It's a real blessing. I look so much forward to getting some feedback and feeling some connection with people that are struggling with these ideas and with the situation we're in, the reality that we're in, and trying to make the best of it. And I think if we help each other and stuff, we'll all trying to help humanity, help myself through the dark times, and help and be support for anybody else. So that'd be awesome. Thanks so much for this opportunity. You've got an amazing platform here, and thank you for letting me be part of it.
There we have it. One man's life journey. What do you think? Are we created and controlled by a higher power? Influenced by aliens? Or do we live inside a construct? Tell us. As John says, our beliefs, our personal philosophies can all change in the blink of an eye. John's experiences encapsulated the whole spectrum of life, from the hilarious to the confusing and the heartbreaking. I hope you support him on his quest. Pick up Blink of an Eye and get in touch with him at www.johnhkfisher.com, and he will send you some music just for saying hello. Just to remind you, our amazing followers, that the new edition of the free digital magazine is out. These 175 free packed pages include amazing articles such as Dave Dominguez, good friend, writes about his theories on how old mankind really is. Lorelei Potvin of the Facebook group Paranormal University teaches you how to effectively open your third eye. Claire Waters of Raising Faith gives details of her extraordinary encounters with a phantom, which is the Lady in Black. And David J. Moore of Evolutionary Metaphors discusses his first UFO encounter. All of this and so much more in the Paranormal Chronicles free digital magazine. Visit www.theparanormalchronicles.com/magazine. That's right, visit www.theparanormalchronicles.com/magazine. It's free, no sign up, no subscription, no nonsense, just full of knowledge for you. Remember to follow, download this series and listen. There are shows on UFOs, ghost encounters, demon encounters, and so much more. And we have great guests ready for upload. I'll always strive to bring you the best guests and features ever. Followers get put into a monthly prize giveaway, so follow now. Let me leave you with this. John spoke at length about the frustrations and disappointments of life, the effects of drug use, feelings of grief and loneliness, and his struggles with depression. John overcame these issues, and is a man on a mission trying to help the world, one reader, one listener at a time. It's important that you, yes you listening right now, understand that your life is important, that you matter. Your life really matters. However you feel, whatever you've done in your life, you matter, and people care for you. You can get help and support for grief, addiction, dependency, depression, and good people are ready to talk to you. They care, and they will help you. You matter. I know this because I've experienced all of the above. I am here, and I care about you. Thank you for listening. Sleep well.